All right. Thank you for rejoining us again for Coffee with the Bishop. Listen, we had lost the sound. You all couldn't hear us, but you can hear us loud and clear now. And we're so glad we're coming into your homes or wherever you may be viewing us at to let you know that something great is about to happen. We have people from our local community and our state here to tell us more about COVID-19. I'm so excited about that. To all of the pastors that are on here that are joining us, thank you. To all of you that are joining from out of state, thank you, because as you join in, there's something we can share with you that you can use when you're back home and you're thinking about some things. You're going to get some answers that will help you also. To our faith-filled community, we thank you for joining us, and here are the people that can give you the answers that you're looking for. So again, I need to start off all over again and let you know who we have on here. We have State Representative Rosemary Brown of the 889th District. Yay! And we have Ms. Claudette Williams, President of the Mount Pocono Borough Council. Yes. Krista, don't say it, I got it. Caceres, Krista Caceres, Monroe County NAACP President and constituent advocate for Congressman Matt Cartwright. And we're all here. I'm your host, Bishop Kenneth L. Pierman. We're here today to talk about how we can make some things happen in our community and hear from the community leaders to let us know what's actually going on, because some things affect the state and the region different than it does the community at large itself. And I want to start off with Ms.
Pastor, well, you didn't mention.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. State Senator.
Be honest, okay.
No. Mario Scavello. He is on here with us. Yes. Forgive me for that. So we thank you so much. Okay, we're going to start off with Ms. Caceres. Why don't you tell us more about what you do at the NAACP and what they wanted to do, as well as from Matt Cartwright's office. You have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself.
Now, last time I was unmuted, and so this time I messed up. I apologize. All right, we'll try it again. Good evening, Representative Brown. Good evening, Senator Scavello. Good evening, Mount Pocono Borough President Claudette Williams. And to you, Bishop Pierman, good evening. Thank you for having me. I won't take a lot of time. I just wanted to come on and ask everyone to be mindful of a couple of things. First would be the census. The census is a questionnaire-based survey that's taken every 10 years by the federal government. And what's at stake is $675 billion that the government distributes to the different states and localities based upon the results of the census. So depending upon what the population is reporting as a result of the census determines how much money our local community actually receives. If you want to look at it in a simpler term, each person that's counted in the census equals about $20,000 in federal funding, much needed dollars that would come home to our district that would do things like fund hospitals, give additional funding to schools, which we all know is important, as well as, the infrastructure, roads and bridges, etc. Another good thing that the census can do is make sure that we have proper congressional representation, meaning that we have enough people in Washington fighting for us. So I encourage everyone, if you have not received your census invitation in the mail, or if you have received the census invitation in the mail, it takes 10 minutes. You can go online to www.my2020census.gov. Answer the questions. They only ask you to confirm your name, how many occupants are in the home, dates of birth, and your nationality. They do not ask any other, invasive questions. They simply want to know who lives at your residence, whether you are an owner or a renter. It does not matter. Everyone must, take the census and be counted. That's vitally important. Or you can call 844-330-2020 in order to have the questionnaire perform for you over the phone with a customer service representative. The next thing that I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of is that the Pennsylvania primary for this year's election has been moved from April 28th to June 2nd. So that gives you extra time to make sure that you are ready to go for not just the primary, but for the general election in November. So the NAACP is encouraging everyone in our community, please register to vote. If you have not done so, the two people here, Representative Brown and Senator Scavello, passed a law that Governor Wolf signed that allows you now to no longer worry about having to stand in line if that's not for you. You can vote by mail. You can go to www.votespa.com. That's VOTESPA.com, and you can apply for your vote by mail ballot. All they ask for is your name, address, and your driver's license information, just to confirm that you are who you say you are. And then the Board of Elections will send you an email confirming your choice to now vote by mail, and you will receive your ballots in the mail, and you can complete and return those. It is vitally important, again, everyone, that we participate in the process. And so voter registration is very, very important. Lastly, Bishop, I wanted to talk to you about my day job, which is serving as a constituent advocate for Congressman Matt Cartwright. He represents Pennsylvania's 8th District, which includes a good part of Monroe County. And he has been working very hard, in addition to being self-quarantined after being exposed to someone with the coronavirus. This is his, I think, 6th or 7th day now in self-quarantine to make sure that he's not unknowingly passing, any infection onto anyone else, and to make sure that he's actually healthy. He, along with other members of Congress last week, passed the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which would bring much needed funding here to our community in Monroe County. And we are hoping that the Senate will do the same and work in a bipartisan manner, as we know they will, to make sure that we get much needed funding here at home. Our Congressman Cartwright also has established a hotline, which is 570-341-1050. It is open Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And any of his constituents with any type of questions concerning coronavirus or any other federal agency issue, IRS, immigration, Department of Homeland Security, etc., please feel free to give us a call. We are here waiting to answer any questions that you have. But I wanted to come on this evening, and again, thank you, Bishop, for having me on, to make sure that everyone in the community is aware of what they can do to make sure that our community is strong and solvent and financially sound, and also to know that your elected officials, including the ones here this evening, are ready to work. Thank you, Bishop.
Yes, Claudette, who is the borough, she is the borough president of Mount Pocono Borough Council. You're on here today. Can you tell us what you're doing in your community?
Good evening, Bishop. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be on. As our governor stated, before you can recover, we must survive. So what we're doing in our community right now, we started just about a week ago when our school closed. We started feeding our community. We did it 5 days, 5 days during the week to help the children in our community from K to 12 provide lunch. This week, when the shelter in place came about, actually it started last night. When that came about, I had some questions concerning whether or not I should continue to go out and feed our community. I reached out to Senator Scavello on that issue and got a clearance that it was okay as long as, because we're feeding our community. So we're still feeding our community. We will continue Friday, which should be our last day. However, just by doing this, we found out the need of our community. So we have families who are on benefits, who are in food stamps, and have a job, part-time jobs, or just low-income jobs, and what they're experiencing hardship right now with not having enough food, no transportation in order to get to the schools that are also preparing lunch and breakfast, providing lunch and breakfast for grab and go. So with us doing this in our community, we started this week doing for our veterans or senior citizen, and we actually do door drops. So, today was really my pleasure to deliver to a family of five, to drop off boxes. And we had members in our community who are providing bags of food in order to make sure these families have something to eat. Another issue that we face in our community, which is some of our small business, local business, restaurants that are just open, but the small business, they're hurting. Having to close their doors, and they have their staff that they have to actually lay off. So they're really hurting, and they're trying to figure out how they will survive. And maybe Rosemary or the senator will be able to answer those questions when they, their turn. But I'm not seeing anything. Like I see Philadelphia had something in place for small business about putting $9 million out towards helping small business. I'm not seeing anything for Monroe County. Maybe I'm not aware of it, so maybe the senator or the state rep will be able to fill us in on those issues. But that is a big cry also in our community. We're also informing individuals in the community about rent. There's programs that will help with their rent. There's programs that they will help. We have our food pantries that are still open, that they are allowed to collect food from the food pantry and food, other services that are available in our community. We have, and it's all, if you have a chance to go on the governor's website, you'll see a lot of information. A rent assistance is available, mortgage assistance is available. Utilities, if you're not able to pay your utilities, the companies cannot turn off your utilities. And if you have a problem with that, then I suggest you reach out to your state elected officials for help in those departments. We have, and also, I think Krista spoke about the election process of it, and that the primary election moving to June 2nd, to make sure that people are aware of the mail-by-vote, the vote by mail that is out there. So there's a lot that needs to be done in our community, and we're trying our best to do what we can without going out into the community. So like myself, I have some volunteers, and now we just are down to just one individual with myself instead of having a group of people. And we're trying to make sure that people are staying indoor, people are listening to what the governor advise us to do, small, no social gathering. And so far it's working. I can tell you here in the mountain, you're going outside and you're driving, it's like a ghost town, which is good because that's what we want, that people are listening, and so that we can make sure that we have this virus under control. So far, that's all I have right now for my community. And I hope that the senator and state rep will be able to fill us in regards to small business, how we can help those businesses in our community.
And I believe they can. State Representative Rosemary Brown of the 189th District, can you speak to us?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Wonderful. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Bishop Perryman, for putting this all together. And it's definitely, obviously, a very unusual time for us, a very concerning time. And I thought it was great that you put this together, because I think the message that really needs to be put out to your parishioners and other parishioners is, listen, we're unusual circumstances. It's not something that we all want to be dealing with, something we've never really dealt with. At least I haven't in my service time. But you look back 30, 40 years, there have been issues with different viruses. This seems to be a little bit different in certain ways. And the message I really wanted to get out is, this is trying to make sure everybody does their part as a team and as a community. It's not easy. It's difficult to be home. It's difficult to sort of prepare to stay home. The employment piece, the economic piece is extremely difficult. But as Claudette stated, we have to get through the health piece of this, and then we will have to move forward and help our base and our constituents and our businesses to get through this as well. And back in the day, before I was a state legislator, I sold antivirals, and there's an understanding that I have with viruses and pandemic education and things of that nature, and how our viruses work. So I think when we hit this situation, I have a little bit more of a awareness to the seriousness that we need to really pay attention to as far as from the healthcare side of it. And we're looking at really helping our healthcare systems, who I have been in touch with consistently throughout the last several weeks, several times a day, because of overwhelming our hospital systems. And you'll hear that on national news, you'll hear it on state news, you'll hear it local news, but it's a reality. And we really have to do our part to keep people healthy so that they don't get the virus, but also so we can continue to treat patients that not only have the virus, but might have other issues if someone has a heart attack or someone of that nature. So you're looking at your ability to adhere to the stay at home to be a strong social responsibility to make sure you do your part. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that it's teamwork to try to help calm this spread. The amount of efforts that we are doing, I can tell you, is so broad. Um, I really should have a full list that we can post somewhere, but I think it just keeps evolving. As Claudette mentioned, one of the best places that people can go to is pa.gov. On there, you'll have the COVID-19 basic stats of what we're dealing with. We currently have 45 cases in Monroe County. We have one fatality, unfortunately. I believe we have 4 in Pike County cases, but these are growing. And again, this incubation period is where we may see some of the stats building, unfortunately. But we are preparing with supplies the best that we can. And but that is the best website, pa.gov. If you go on there, you'll find resources for families, for businesses, the Department of Community and Economic Development, small business loans, and we're still waiting for some funding from the federal government as well to help with that. You'll see the unemployment guidelines and how to apply. You'll also see resources for the education system and what we're doing there as well. Our school districts, it's important for people to know wherever your children go to school, the best resource to find exactly what they're doing is their website. However, if you have any questions on specifics or anything that you're not getting from your school districts, please feel free to call my office or any of the other legislators, and we will work through that with you. But that is the best because each school district is doing things a little bit differently. I know East Stroudsburg is doing meal drop-offs at their bus stops, their normal bus stop locations, which is sort of unusual but very smart. I know there's been talk in the state about even possibly dropping paperwork and homework assignments to students at their bus stops. So looking at things that we have normally not done for students who may not have computer access or their internet issues may be there. So we're really looking at different things to do. There's legislation we are voting, or I am voting remotely from my home. So as a leader, I'm showing you, hey, listen, we're home too. We're complying. We're trying to say, listen, do your best. I have a job to do that's very serious. I have to vote for my people. I have to make sure I know what's going on in our community, but we're very active remotely and doing everything we can. Our offices are still open. They're open for phone line and email, and we are actively getting back to people. So please do not be afraid to call. We will direct and give resources and help you in any way that we can. The legislation today, we looked at some legislation, as was mentioned a little bit earlier. It will be the final votes will be taken on it shortly, which will be extending the deadline for the primary election. And also, one of the things we did vote on final consideration is Senate Bill 751 today, which is basically giving relief to our school districts for the 180 days requirement and some of their testing parameters, as well as a few other things with continuing education for our teachers. And then it gives some guidance for the school districts for payment of employees as well. So I think that there's a lot happening. I'm looking around me and there's tons of papers. I could probably go in to many different levels, but maybe as we continue on in the conversation, and I'm sure Senator Scavello will add even more. But I just want you to know that we are there for detailed resources through the phone, through email, and we will get back to you. And I will call you personally if we need to as well.
Senator Scavello.
Good evening, Bishop. And again, I want to publicly thank you for putting this together, this very important session. And maybe we should do it more often as well. I just want to follow up and Representative Brown did a pretty good job of explaining on what with the hospitals and everything, and some of the legislation. One of the key things in the bill, and this is something that's been bothering me, where the 10-month employees have been furloughed and did not get paid, and this bill corrects that. Unless you're a part of a company that the school district signs a contract with, and I'm hopeful that company will pay their employees as well, because I believe they're going to be paid fully by the school district. So those employees should not be affected also. Some of the other points that we did, and which I believe is very important, is the unemployment compensation. Usually you have to wait a week or so before you can go and apply. But with what we did, you can go right away. You can apply right away and you get the dollars fairly quickly. And that's important, because people that are in many of these jobs, especially the lowest tier jobs, they depend on that paycheck every week. I know we've had one company, and I'm going to give them a plug. Kalahari paid all their employees for 2 weeks when they closed the doors. All their employees got a 2-week pay, a check, which I thought that was phenomenal. And I know that some of the other companies did a few things, but not to that extent, and that's why I wanted to recognize them. A couple of the different items that I really truly appreciate, because the House did a pretty good job, and what we're going to finish off in the Senate. There's approximately 100 million that is going out to small business, and that information they can apply through the IDA, the Industrial Development Authority, and it's up to $100,000. It is a no interest loan. And in the first year, they do not have to do any payback. So from the day they get it, for 12 months, they have to pay nothing at all. And then it's a low interest loan. So it's a phenomenal loan. Federal commitment is through things the county and every was afraid because of that, but what it does is it draws down federal dollars, so employers can have money to pay their employees and to help them almost immediately. So it's all good stuff. I tell you, one thing I see in the House and in the Senate, we're working together, which is important. There should be no partisanship anywhere, because we're out there to help people and help us through this. You know, this is one of the most awful things that we've had. And I remember in 2009-10, when I was in the House of Representatives, we lost 12,000 people. It was 12,000 people that passed nationwide because of the H1N1 back then. We're not at those levels. Hopefully, we don't see those levels, but that's how bad it was back then. It was very, very tough to come back from that. But my goal is, and this is, our phones ring off the hook, and I'm sure Representative Brown and Curtis could probably say the same thing. We're there fully. Get on the phone. We'll help you out. I'm going to give you my personal cell phone. Anybody out there? 570-269-6349. I don't have a hotline, but on my personal phone, I hand it out all the time. If you have an emergency and you need help, please call me. If it's during the day, you could reach our offices. I have an office in Penargil and I have an office in Monroe County. So depending on where you live, if you live in the Northampton side, you can call the Penargil office. If you live in the Monroe side, you can call the Scott Run office. And if one is busy, it makes no difference. You can call the other office, because we're there to serve. We supported many of the House, like I said, did a phenomenal job. And I'm really ready to answer any questions that the constituencies out there might have. And the school districts did a phenomenal job in feeding these kids. I know Pocono Mountain's over 3,000 a day, 3,000 a day. And that's what they wanted to bring them to the bus stops, but they felt that it might be, you're bringing a ton of kids now at a bus stop, and we're congregating again rather than have them in their vehicle and just hand it to them. And I tell you, I'm thinking of the worst today. You always have to think that way and make sure that you don't want this thing to spread. And so I hope that the school district in East Stroudsburg is separating them in some way. But I can tell if they're all in their vehicles, it's fine, and they can just go over and the adult goes and pick it up rather than have the kids all over the place. But hopefully that's not happening. And I'm awaiting your questions.
Okay. Well, we thank you that you gave us your personal number that we can call you for information. But I would like to ask. Yes. Okay. One of the things I want to say is that to all of you here, we can answer this. We see a lot of things that are happening to the person who is just a day worker who got paid by the day. They're suffering out there. We have some who are just have no way of knowing how anything is going to change, and we're dealing with a lot of things of anxiety for mental health and things like those things. But my question to you is, with the coronavirus relief bill and the details, what does that mean for the taxpayer?
Well, can I start for the taxpayer? What the relief bill does, and the bill that I see, I don't know what the final product is going to be, but someone you'll get approximately $1,200 per adult in the house and $500 per child. Some of the things that we do, the federal government did, we did it also in Pennsylvania. You don't have to pay your taxes till July 15th, either in Pennsylvania or in DC. So you have a few extra, you go from April to July that you can hold on to some money to offset the money that you might have had to pay taxes now. So you'll be able to hold up to those dollars, and hopefully not in too distant future, you'll be back to work. That's our goal. We're also going to try to help companies with the federal dollars to stay in business, because if they're out of business, you know what happens, that these employees don't have jobs. And so there's going to be some dollars to these companies to stay in business so they can hold on to their employees, because that's important. If the company folds because of this, and some companies will teeter, and I have to tell you the truth, this will help big time with the dollars we're going to get.
Okay, and I have another question for you, the State Representative Brown or Senator Scavello. Now, they say they're going to work with those who are dealing with their mortgages and those who are dealing with rent. If you're dealing with someone, how does the person who is a renter deal with a landlord that may not let them go any further with their rent, holding up the progress, even though they've been out of work because of this virus rather? What do they do? What recourse do they have? Because we have a lot of people that are renters, and they're very nervous that they're going to, not only that they may lose their job and not be called back to work, also that they may be put out of their houses.
Pastor, if they haven't been backlogged, if they're right on, and now from this point on, that because of the virus, they can't be evicted from their house during this that they cannot be evicted from their house as long as they've been up to date to the time of the virus.
So
Bishop
that's very
Perryman,
important.
Yeah, go ahead. No, and that's true. And I just want to add, and since we are on, it's not legislative, but we are on a faith-based sort of call here with your parishioners and a few other bishops. I think, again, this comes down to there's a lot of things that Senator Scavello said that are being pushed back. We talk about the elections being pushed back. We talk about our tax filings being pushed back. We're now talking about the federal government with the real ID requirements being pushed back. There's a lot of things being pushed back. One of the hardest things for someone who rents apartments or rents housing is, of course, they have bills to pay too. So it's that trickle down effect where if they're not getting their rents from people, then they can't pay their bills. But there are a lot of things being pushed back. I think I'm hoping our society, based on the gut feeling that I've kind of gotten from working with people in many different sectors, is if there's the ability to give and take here a little bit, and a little bit of without people taking advantage, but people really working together to be flexible. I think that is the key. Everybody knows that this is going to hit everybody on every level. So I'm hoping, without legislation and without some other things, that if the numbers can work and people can be flexible, that they are as flexible as they can be, in helping people kind of catch up. So just a side note, I know that's hard to say and to confirm with people, but I sort of always put a plea out to ask for that of people if they have the ability to be flexible, to ensure that they're being good to people.
And I'm in agreement to what you're just stating. And I want to go over something that Senator Scrivello said. And we want to make it clear to someone so they can't say anything different. If you have been paying up to the point of the coronavirus time, and from this time on, they have some help for you. But if you've been out of pocket, meaning that you have been paying all along, and then you come into coronavirus time and you're looking for some help, I don't know what they can do for you. But if you are there during this time of coronavirus and you've had a hard time because you've been laid off your job, so for just want to send in some help. And as State Representative Rosemary Brown stated, that there should be a give and take. Hopefully you've developed a good relationship with your landlord, that you all can work something out. That even if you don't have all of your financial things together, but you'll be able to give them something that will help the cause as well, because everyone does have to pay their bills and it does trickle down. I want to also ask a question about the testing, people being able to get testing. That's been a lot of calls that have come to me, and I'm quite sure there are other pastors on here also that's been happening to them about the testing, and they're very nervous about where can they go to get their testing, although they shouldn't go if they do not have any symptoms. Representative Brown?
Yeah, sure. There has been many testing sites added. I know that we have our Department of Health line where you can call, and then you can secure testing sites from there. There's several different places, one on Main Street, one in Bartonsville, for testing locally in Monroe County. You also should know that your doctor, your primary care doctor, we really don't, the hospital systems and the medical community does not want patients going into the offices. They'd like you to call ahead of time, kind of go through your symptoms a little, because it's important to try to help with the spread. But the important piece is that there's more testing becoming available. And if you have symptoms, we want to test and we want you to quarantine. And the unfortunate piece is, as with many viruses, you are often contagious, 10, 14 days, depending on the virus, you often contagious before you even know. And with this virus, it appears, based on some of the medical experts, that some people don't even develop symptoms, but yet they're sort of shedding the virus and they're contagious. So this is what makes it very difficult. But they do want you to stay home. They want you to stay home and say, if I have symptoms similar, stay home, keep yourself at home unless you start developing the very serious symptoms, to get tested. But if people feel comfortable or uncomfortable, they're nervous, the Department of Health line, which is on pa.gov, and your primary care physician, you absolutely should reach out and do that phone call. I would not hesitate ever, no matter what medical condition, to call your primary care doctor, because it is their responsibility. They know what they're dealing with right now. So I would just suggest, if it makes people feel comfortable, call your primary care doctor and start from there.
I have a question. So the testing, as we know, is free. How about the treatment? Is the treatment, if someone has the virus, is the treatment free? Or how
if you walk into any hospital and you need treatment and you don't have benefits, they will give you the treatment.
Okay.
They have to.
They will give you the treatment, and hopefully you won't be billed later on, or will you be?
If you can't pay it, as long as you send them $1 a week or something like that, But what's most important, that they get the treatment and they get well. Let's talk about the dollars afterwards. That's the most important thing.
I do believe, though, that as part of the House bill, at least that was passed. Sorry, no, I was just going to say, I do believe as part of the House bill that was passed, the testing piece was included. Now, you know, again, the Senate has to do their piece, but I know that the House bill that was passed did include coverage for testing for everyone.
Then it's in, because the Senate passed that bill over the weekend. Last week they passed it when they came down.
Okay, fair enough.
The bill that is part two is what they're debating now, and hopefully they'll get that done. So that's good news. I wasn't aware of the feds. And I think the feds were working on something with mortgages also to give a month or 2 months. I thought that I was reading that. I didn't look at the legislation, but the feds also, the federal government might have also done something to talk to the banks to give them at least a month or 2 months, and then to tack it on to the back of the mortgage without any penalties.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Well, thank you for your time that you've given today. I just want to make some people aware of everything. And as I have other leaders that are on here that are viewing, they can cover some other areas that I may not be able to cover. But we all should be able to do our part to bring information to our community. And as we come together as a community, and one thing I want to say about Monroe County, we're a very strong community. We're very strong in voting. And I have to say this for my sake, we're a very strong praying community. And so in that, I believe with all my heart that as we work across the aisles, that it's not about being a Democrat or Republican or an independent. It's about now helping one another. And all of those, it's like being in a church. Put away your doctrines and all of those things, and let's come together and get a job done at reaching our community. And as there are other pastors on here, as you will find later, who are doing things in the community, food banks and everything else, one of the things I hope that you all have learned today is not just about complaining. It's what can I do to encourage my friend, my neighbor, and my community? And how can I be a strength even to my senator, my state representative, my councilwoman, to the NAACP? How can we be a strength to be able to continue to be an extended arm to those people to help them get the job done also? And I just hope that we all be able to sit down again, because there are other people. I wanted to say a couple other things, but the time would not allow me to do so. But what I would like to see happen is that we come back again and sit down and talk again about some more serious issues that surrounding this virus and how it has affected different households, and what we can do to really help some people who are stuck. I mean, they are really stuck. And so I look forward to talking to all of you again, certainly to Councilwoman Claudette Williams. I'm so glad you joined us. To Krista Caceres, glad to have you here. State Representative Rosemary Brown, it's always good to see you again. And certainly to Senator Mario Scavello.
Yeah, Pastor, can I just interject one thing? If they're unsure about something, can they open their business, or do they qualify? Because things change every day. Call our offices. Be safe. Better be safe than sorry. Call all our offices, and we'll have that information for you.
Okay. So listen, before you make a complaint, I'm saying this to all the people, before you make a complaint, call the offices, find out the information. All you have to do is pick up your phone, dial, or listen, go ahead to your website and look on your website, look up all the information through their offices on the website. There's not a lack of knowledge here. We are not operating in fear. We are operating in wisdom, and the grace of God carries us through. Thank all of you for joining us. Look forward to seeing you all again on a much happier note. Not that we have to be stuck in the house. Okay. And look forward to seeing everybody. God bless everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop.